Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, TV land. Welcome to WeBeam TV, and this is Taboo Talk with Ray and Steve. I'm Ray Amanat, your host, and my co-host is from a undisclosed safe house location somewhere in Texas, Mr. Steve Reed. Welcome, Steve.
Ray, how in the world are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Hey, if I was doing any better, I'd have to be at least twins, maybe quadruplets today. Life is good.
That is awesome. That is awesome. We're kind of changing the show up a little bit today. I'm not behind the desk. I'm standing up, and I've got a whole bunch of my paraphernalia behind me, and I'm excited to talk about, what my passion is, and it's helping people deal with bullies.
So, in fact, on today's show, we're going to be talking about bullying from childhood all the way up into adulthood. And my co-host, Ray Amanat, is going to be sharing some of his insights and his experience. This episode is actually brought to you by Heroes in Action Incorporated, which is a nonprofit organization that was launched by Ray several years ago. And the whole purpose of this particular program is to bring awareness to bullying and violence in our schools, neighborhoods, and in the workplace. We are also pleased to have a new sponsor today, and that is the LifeWave X39 stem cell patch. And this stem cell patch is a wearable patch that you just put on your body. And what it does is it helps to give you more energy, helps with wound healing. It helps you also with rapid pain relief and so much more. It actually activates your stem cells to do what they are supposed to do. Well, with that said, we are back with Ray. Let's get him back on here. Ray, I'm excited to have you here today so that you can share some of the insights that you have about helping people overcome fear by introducing them to some of the programs that you have. So please, first of all, tell us a little bit about your background, how you became an advocate for bullying and violence prevention. Take it away, Ray.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for that question. A lot of people say, Ray, what makes you an expert on this topic or subject of bullying? And the best thing I could say is, well, I was a victim of bullying from elementary school all the way up through high school. So I had that facet of being the one that was both verbally and physically abused. So whether it was at the bus stop, on the bus, in the hallway, classroom, bathroom, recess, PE, anywhere that you can think of on school property, whenever the teachers weren't looking, somebody was doing or saying something to me. Move forward, I got into martial arts because I did not want to be a victim of bullying anymore. And that's when I became the bully. That's where my coaches were not the Cobra Kai or not the Miyagi coaches. They were the Cobra Kai coaches that taught me how to be a really good fighter. So I went from being this victim down here to I became the bully. I wasn't a good person at one point in my life. Move forward, I got my black belt, and I was teaching my students the same way that I was taught. So I was raising bullies myself until I had a parent say my child got suspended from school for doing what I taught him to do. And I had to really sit back and rethink what type of a mentor or educator I was going to be for my students. I've been the victim. I've been the bully. I actually hated being both, so I focused on, well, what can we be instead of a victim or a bully, and that's where we came up with being a hero. So hero is helping, HEROES is an acronym for helping everyone resist oppression every day safely. I wrote the book, Bully, Victim, or Hero, which is pretty much my life, going from how I went from being the victim to becoming the bully and how I transformed myself into being the person I am now.
Ray, when you stop and think about it, bullying has been around since the beginning of time. I can think way back. I wasn't there, so understand that this is just hearsay on my part.
Sure.
But I understand that Cain and Abel had a case of bullying, and well, you know you know the end result. That was major, big time bullying. So, in your opinion, what gives you the knowledge of how to prevent or how to minimize the bullying issues in our schools today, and why your formula as opposed to what everybody else is trying?
So there's a lot of speakers that are out there that do presentations on anti-bullying. They do the PowerPoint presentations, they have kids watch videos. A lot of schools, I don't know in your area, in other states, but schools are mandated to have some type of an anti-bully program in place. And is it me putting a poster on the wall? Is it me talking for 15 minutes or having the kids watch a video? Is that what that anti-bully program consists of? Most schools have 3 P's: policies, procedures, and programs. My goal when I go to a school, I interview the principal, I interview the superintendent, and try to get as much information as I can about that school and what they're dealing with. So I don't have a cookie cutter program where I go to an inner city school and do a program, and then I go to a rural school and do the same program. Those are totally different areas. They think differently because of the way they're raised. We're all products of our environment. So for me, when I do a school assembly, I have 1 hour to make an immediate connection with the staff and the students. But I don't have the parents that I can address or talk to unless I'm speaking to the PTO, PTA, PTSA, whatever organization the school has. I try to interview the school so that I can create a program or cater a program to fit what that school needs at that moment, whatever they're going through, if that makes sense. So 3 P's, let me get to that real quick. I try to get the school's insurance companies involved. You know, what are the policies? What are they going to support? A teacher has their hands tied. If a teacher sees bullying going on and doesn't separate the students, you're going to have parents that are going to say, why didn't the teacher do anything? If the teacher tried to intervene and put their hands on the students, you're going to have parents that are going to say, how dare you touch my child? So first thing I want to do is find out what the school policies are. What are teachers allowed to do, not allowed to do, and are parents aware of that so that they can sign off on it at the beginning of the school year? Procedures. What are the procedures that the school takes when bullying happens? We are a land of laws. We can have a million laws, but if we don't enforce those laws, crime is always going to happen. It's the same thing in schools. They can have a lot of procedures in place, but if they don't enforce them, you're always going to have bullying. Programs, if the programs don't address the bystander, don't address the target of bullying, I don't like saying victim, they're a target until nothing happens and then they become a victim. And do they address the bully? You know, how do we handle it? You know, I can suspend or expel that child that's a bully, but we're not doing anything to correct their behavior. So those are things that we can talk about later on. But in a nutshell, when I go to schools, I used to be the PowerPoint guy. I'm not anymore. I engage the students by bringing up volunteers. I engage the staff by bringing up volunteers. And typically when I do that, everyone is going to stop and look and say, what's he going to do with them? So I keep their attention throughout the whole assembly.
Oh, Ray, you got my wheels turning. I have heard said on many occasions, in fact, I've said it myself countless times, hurt people hurt people. Do you find that the bullies come out of a family situation or maybe a neighborhood situation where they were being bullied and they went after other kids? because they got to pick on somebody else because that's what they've learned in their life.
So, yes, that goes back to me saying earlier, we are all products of our environment. So, the bully at school can be the victim at home, where the parents or the older brother or a stepfather or a stepmother or somebody is bullying them. So they're just acting out at school. They're a victim at home and they don't want to be that, so they play the role of the bully at school. I had a child that, it was an inner city school. He was an African American child that, he wore his pants down, he was sagging, and he had the little walk, the strut, and he talked in slang. And I just said, why do you walk that way? Why do you talk that way? Why do you act that way? His answer was, to survive. He said, Mr. Ray, in my neighborhood, if I tuck my shirt, pull up my pants, walk straight up, and talk educated, the other kids in the neighborhood are going to say, what, you think you're better than us? So they dumb themselves down to survive in their own neighborhoods. And in order to fit in with other kids in the school, they have to mimic or act like them. Or, bullying, a part of it is a popularity contest. They're trying to be as popular as some of the other kids, and they're not taught or shown how to be popular or how to engage or communicate. So they just do what they see other kids doing. There's that phrase, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Well, yeah, if you're going to hang out with a group of people that are constantly verbally abusing, physically abusing other people, you're going to kind of blend in and start doing the same, just because you don't want it to come on you.
So, Ray, I know you used to live in Missouri, which, of course, is the show me state. But what does a bully look like? Show me what a bully looks like. Are they young? Are they old? Are they fat? Are they skinny? Male? Female? How do you describe a bully? How do you spot a bully?
So with that, everyone looks at like this bully, it's always the real tough guy, pulls up the sleeve, muscle or heavier person that picks on the weaker person. You have to look at the definition of bullying. A parent's definition of bullying is totally different from the school district's. What a parent might say, my child is being bullied, the school district is going to say, no, that's teasing, that's not bullying. So it's trying to get them all on the same page where the students, the teachers, and the parents all have that same definition of bullying. Definition of bullying, in my opinion, is one, the frequency that it happens. So my name is Ray. When the teachers were around, the students called me Ray Ray. When the teachers were not looking or around, the students called me Gay Ray. So every time I got on the bus or at the bus stop or in the hallway, it's what's up, Gay Ray, what's up, Gay Ray. So it's the frequency. How often does it happen and how does that make me feel? Two, do I fear for my safety? Do I fear for my life? Are they physically threatening me? Well, this is where kids talk to each other and say, I wish you would just die, or go back to your, my parents were immigrants from Iran. My English wasn't that great when I was a child, so I was constantly ridiculed because it was a predominantly white neighborhood, a white school, and I wasn't the popular kid, I wasn't the athlete, so I had that target on my back. I had kids say, Ray, if you would take more showers, you'd be white like us. Once they find out I was from Iran, or my parents were from Iran, then all the name calling, like you're a terrorist, you're a camel jockey, you're a sand N-word, all of that on a daily basis. Next, is it affecting me scholastically? So are my grades dropping? Do I have a fear of going to school? Do I come up with excuses, Mom, I don't want to go to school because I'm sick or I feel sick? So once we have that definition of bullying, then we can get into, well, what does that bully look like? So if you're the star football player on a team and you make somebody feel like inferior because they're athletic and you're not, and they rub it in your face all the time, that could be construed as bullying. If I'm the little nerdy kid that gets straight A's, honor roll student, and they rub it in my face all the time that, oh, you got a C or you got a D, why don't you just give up? Hey, I got an A plus again, I got an A plus again. So it could be the nerdy. If you're the cheerleader, and the cheerleader, this is the Mean Girls movie where they isolate and don't let other girls get involved in their clique. And as we get older, those bullies change. They don't go away, they grow up. It's how they behave and how they treat other people. So you want to look at the behavior, not the appearance, how they treat you.
Ray, you just brought back some memories. I remember when I was in the 8th grade, I was one of those nerdy kids, but I wasn't a straight A student, but I was a nerdy band kid. I spent all my free time in the band room. And I remember in my English class, 8th grade English, there was a guy, Bobby Patterson, who sat 2 seats behind me. And the teacher had to go out of the room for some reason. And when she was out of the room, he took a book, one of our school textbooks, and smacked me on the back of the head. And he was known to be a bully in the school. Well, I jumped up and hauled off and I slugged him in the face. At that exact time, the vice principal of the school was walking by. And I got called out into the hallway. And thankfully, the vice principal knew the reputation of this other kid and knew my reputation. And he got 3 days of suspension. And I got applause when I went back into the room. So that's an example of me being bullied many, many years ago. But here's a question for you. So along the way, you've got your particular program. What makes your program, and I'm not trying to do a competition thing, but let's face it, you've got some unique things about your program that make your program better. Why is your program better than some of the other programs that are out there?
So a lot of the other programs that are out there focus on the word bully. And I focus on what it means to be a hero. So when I go into schools, I try to downplay the bully and focus on the hero aspects of it. How can I be a good person? How can I help other people? And everything that I do is based on role plays with the kids. So I'll bring kids up one at a time, group at a time, depending on the scenario. If I'm doing a role play on the bus, or a role play in the lunch line, or a role play during PE or recess, I'll bring kids up, they'll toss the ball around, and I'll play the role of the bully, take the ball, and then they have to show me, are they going to be a shy person, an aggressive, angry person, or an assertive person? When we're born one of two personalities. We're either passive or we're aggressive. When somebody pushes your button, just like you punched that kid back that hit you in the back of the head, even though you're a band geek, you still have aggressive tendencies when you're pushed. If somebody were pushing me over and over and over again and I do nothing, I'm a shy person. If somebody pushes me and I get mad and I push back, I'm that angry, aggressive person. Being assertive, and I ask this to teachers, I ask this to parents, how do you teach assertiveness? You're not born assertive. Assertiveness is something that you learn. So how do you teach kids how to be assertive? And that's where my program is different from everyone else, because I go step by step on how to teach assertiveness and communication, conflict resolution and anger management, so that we can diffuse or de-escalate conflicts and avoid and reduce the amount of office referrals the school has throughout the whole school year.
All right, so let's say you're working with a group of students, and I don't know, 5, 6, 8, 10 students at a time, and you've got that one student that is being the bully, but then you've got another student that is being bullied, and you've got all these bystanders that are standing around watching as this one student is being beaten up or being picked on. How do you get those bystanders to get involved so that there's less of a possibility of the continuous bullying going on and on? How do you get those people involved? Now, I've heard it said, when you think about it, snitches get stitches. So I'm willing to bet that most of those bystanders don't want to get involved at all. How do you convince them to get involved?
So that's a great question, Steve, and that's common. It's getting kids to understand the difference between reporting something and being a tattletale or a snitch. Remember, the only person that uses the language, you're a snitch, or you're a mama's boy, or you're a teacher's pet, or you're a daddy's girl, or any of those other comments, comes from the bully. Nobody else would say those things. Now, take that into consideration. Let's say I have a child, and I say, okay, pretend you're walking to your friend's house. You get to your friend's house is on fire. Your friend in the house is like, help me, and they're trying to get help. Are you, the child, gonna run back home and get some marshmallows, crackers, and chocolate to make s'mores because you got a nice fire, or are you going to call 911? Well, most of the kids say, I'm going to call 911. All right, I say, all right, you call 911, the fire department comes, the ambulance comes, police come, they save your friend's life. Now you have the news media, they show up with the camera crew microphone. Are they going to go up to you, the child, and say, are you the snitch that called 911? Or they're going to say, are you the hero that called 911? So when I get the kids to understand that by reporting something that they see, you hear in the media all the time and from our government, if you see something, say something. Who do you say it to? That's why we have a neighborhood watch. We watch things that are going on. Schools are compared to neighborhoods. If you have a city, that city has a mayor. The school has a principal. The city has a board of aldermen. The school has a board of education. The city has police officers. The school has teachers and sometimes the school resource officer to maintain safety. But just like police officers, teachers can't be everywhere and they can't see everything. What's the first thing a bully does? This is what the first thing a bully does. They look around. They're looking for the teachers. They're looking for the adults because they don't want to get caught. Now, if the bystanders, if they were to use their voice, if they see something getting ready to happen and they report it, hopefully it's the fear that keeps them from wanting to report it because is the bully going to single them out next? But if we have a large number of kids saying, yes, this person did it, that's sending a message to the bully. We're not going to tolerate that kind of behavior in the school. So, when I try to get everyone to focus on being the hero, being that person that is a good bystander that reports it. Here's a situation that happened a long time ago in Chicago. It was an after-school fight in an alleyway. And there's this kid, he was a football player, jock, good grades, good everything. He saw his friend was getting hurt or beat up. So he went to help them. Then all of a sudden, all the other kids turned on him and just started beating on him. You got this kid with the cell phone videotaping the whole thing going, oh man, oh darn, he's getting beat up. So he's laying on the ground. And, he gets up and tries to walk away. They get a 2x4 or a stick and they start beating him again. And this kid with the cell phone, still videotaping, ooh, ah, ee. He was videotaping somebody dying. The kid ended up passing away from all the injuries he sustained from the attack. This guy could have called 911. He could have put his cell phone down. And he could have actually physically said, guys, this is wrong, stop, you're going to hurt him, you're going to kill him. But all he did as the bystander is pulled up that video in his phone and just videotaped somebody die. We need to get people to be heroes, to be the bystanders that are part of the solution and not a part of the problem. And a big part of that is changing the way they think that snitches don't get stitches. You know, we have a neighborhood watch programs in a lot of the communities. If you saw somebody breaking into your neighbor's house, you're not going to get a bucket of popcorn and see what they're going to do next. Hopefully, you would call 911. That's you being a part of the solution because you saw something and you said it to the right people to take care of it. I say, you know, the general population, and this is a lot of law enforcement and military use this analogy, where you have the general population is sheep. The criminals, the bad guys, the bullies, they're the wolves that prey on the sheep. The people that are there to help keep us safe, police officers, soldiers, bouncers, security guards, teachers, they're the sheepdogs. And if you're not prepared to physically intervene, you can at least be a watchdog, at least see what's going on, get a good description of the person, and report it or call 911 to get the right kind of help. In school, you can't call 911. Most kids are not allowed to have cell phones. So they have to be assertive enough to approach a teacher, a counselor, or principal, a safe adult, and say, this is going on, you got to stop it. And then it's the procedures that the school implements that stops it and then gives out the consequences so it doesn't happen again. But you still got to correct the child's behavior, regardless of what the situation was. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Oh, absolutely. It did. And it had actually brought up another question. So you're focused on helping both the victim of the bullying as well as those bystanders to teach them to get involved, see something, say something, and be proactive and be a little bit more aggressive or assertive to try and minimize the problems. But there's a third component in this whole thing, and that's the bully, him or herself. What do you do? Or is there a program that you have for them to help them change their behaviors?
So generally, approximately 5% of the students that get office referrals or get in trouble all the time that are the bullies in school. So 95% of your student population, the kids are fine. It's the 5% that continually get in trouble for behavior. And what I do with schools is I try to talk to the school counselors and set up a time where I just address or talk to that 5%. I mean, I've gone in St. Louis when I lived there, I've gone to the juvenile detention center and did programs for kids that were in detention centers because of violence in their schools or their neighborhoods. Too many frequents and too many slaps on the wrist, and now they're in juvenile detention. So when I go and I talk to the kids that have behavioral problems, that have anger management issues, and a lot of times parents are going to be like, that's how I was raised and that's how I'm going to raise my child. How dare you tell me how to raise my child? Well, the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree where the child is mimicking that parent's behavior. So I try to do this. I'm going to do a quick grid here. So what do you see here, Steve?
Wow, that looks an awful like a flow chart to me.
It's a flow chart. It could also be if we were playing hockey or basketball or the Olympics or anything. It's a bracket, okay, for sports.
Gotcha.
You have
Okay.
all these teams that are here, and they all want to be this person here, which is what? They all want to be the champion, okay? In order for them to move forward, to be that champion, they have to abide by rules. So what I tell kids is, all right, no matter what you do in life, you're always going to have somebody to answer to. So at home, who makes the rules? Usually the parents. So the parents want you to do your chores, pick up after yourself, clean your room, take out the trash, clean the cat litter box, clean up dog poop from the yard. These are all things that enable you to move forward to become independent as a child. If you do something wrong, then the penalty is go to your room. You're grounded. You're being punished because of bad behavior. Okay, you're always going to have somebody judging you. Now, there's different ways that parents can be taught to help change behavior as opposed to punishment. I'm not going to get into that. You get into school. Who's the referees? It's going to be the teachers, the principals. Okay, so you have elementary school education, middle school education, high school education, until you go to college, higher education, or you start your career. So you're wanting your independence. Now, if I cheat on exams, if I'm a bully, or if I do anything, I can get suspended or expelled. So, Steve, let's say you're the key player on a hockey team, and you commit a foul. Do you argue with the ref, or do you take the penalty?
Penalty.
Because you want to stay in the game. If you argue with the ref, you could be kicked out, you're ejected. And with you being a key player, that could cost the team the opportunity to go to that championship.
Right.
So do you argue with the teachers? Do you argue with your parents where you lose the freedom? Or do you take the penalty and you want to stay in the game? You want to stay in school? You want to get your video, Xbox back or whatever, those privileges that you have at home, you want to get them back. So we go from school to careers. In careers, who's the referee? Your boss, the CEO of the company. So this is me going up the ladder of success. I started a low-level, entry-level job. I work my way up. I go to a managerial position. I go to a supervisory position. And then eventually, the CEO wants to retire, and hopefully he's going to say, Ray, you know all the ins and outs of my business. I want you to take over as CEO. But if I do something that goes against company policy, the referee, the supervisors, the CEO, my managers, they're going to call me on it, give me a warning, give me 2 warnings, and eventually, Ray, you're fired. That's the consequence. That's you got to slap on the wrist or go find another job. Take that to relationships, since you're the relationship guy.
Yeah.
You have a whole bunch of, you have one girl, you have a whole bunch of guys. Who's the referee? The girl.
The girl. Yeah.
She's going to say, well, this guy drinks, this guy dresses like a slob, this guy doesn't bathe at all, this guy doesn't have the career I'm looking for. And they date somebody, they weed them out until they come down with 4 people categorized, then 2 people until they find the person that they want to marry for the rest of their life. Now you have one guy and a whole bunch of girls. Who's the referee? Still the girls. The girls are always going to be the referee.
Or the girl's dad.
Yes. Okay. So, but in order for you to move forward, now I tell the kids this. Now you are in a relationship. You're the parent. You now have the child. So these are the kids that I'm talking to that are the 5% at school or they're at the juvenile detention center. You're now a parent. What kind of a parent do you want to be?
Yeah.
Do you want to be someone that lets them get away with anything? Or do you want to be somebody that guides them into becoming a champion? And all of them want to become champion. It was sad because when I went to the juvenile detention center, I asked the kids, is there any one thing that you can say you've done in your life that you're proud of? And most of them didn't have anything. So self-esteem was low, confidence was low, and a lot of times they lash out at other people because they've done nothing with their lives. They've had no positive experiences. Getting an A on a test, winning a trophy, Boy Scouts, going camping, or the Big Brother, Big Sister. There's tons of programs that are out there that can help a child develop self-esteem and self-confidence that would help change the behavior so that they're not aggressive at home or at school or anywhere else.
All right, I'm going to take a real quick break, and I want to talk about my friend Natalie Thurman. Natalie, over 40 years ago, was told that she had severe arthritis, and she was told that she would probably have to give up some of her favorite things that she liked doing. Things like sewing, she loved gardening, she loved playing the organ at her church. And the doctor said, you just have to give up those things. Well, that didn't sit very well with Natalie, and she set out on a mission to try and figure out what the solution was to this particular problem. And what she did was she discovered the Shackley Corporation. Today, they've been in business for over 65 years, actually 66 years this year. And as a result of Natalie changing her lifestyle and taking advantage of the supplements and vitamins that they have, Natalie is going strong today at over 80 years old. Today, she's managed to keep her weight down. She's boosting her immune system so that she can stay healthy all the time. So if you'd like more information about the Shackley organization and living a more healthy lifestyle, reach out to Natalie today. I promise you will not be disappointed. And her information will be in the screen later on.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. And I personally know Natalie, and she is a very beautiful person and very caring and giving and wants to help as many people as she can. So.
And more energy than the two of us put together.
Yeah, well, maybe.
All right, so Ray, let me ask you this: you're talking about the bullies, you're talking about the victims and the bystanders and so forth, and you mentioned, kind of in passing, talking about mindset. When you get into working with these especially young people, are you helping them change the positive mindset from the negative mindset in your programs as well?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask my vice president of my company to come up here, Miss Debbie. So you can see I have this banner here that talks about safe behaviors. On safe behaviors, we've got safe hands, safe feet, safe language, and safe distance. So and we do have posters that we send out to schools so they could put those up. And this poster is a tool that teachers can use where if students are not displaying safe hands, they can point it out and say, hey, what can you do to change that behavior? If I'm kicking someone's book bag or kicking somebody, hey, what can I do to change that behavior? It's what's a better way of dealing with the situation. I still get the consequence, I still get in trouble, but I'm also going over how could I have handled it better. So a lot of times we talk about if she's just pretend you're pushing me, I'm like this, I'm the victim, I'm the shy guy. She pushes me, nobody sees it happen. I push her back and everyone sees it happen, just like what happened with you at school, Steve, where the principal saw you punching the person. So typically, I'm the one that's going to get in trouble. So how do I teach assertive behavior? A big part of that is body language. We live in a world of technology where people have cell phones, there's cameras all over the place, where people can pretty much see if you're the instigator or not. I never want to be perceived as the aggressor. So we start with, a lot of teachers or parents would say, stay in your personal space or stay in your bubble, and usually that's at arm's length. I could still punch her or kick her at arm's length, so I don't like that as a bubble. I want to add to the conversation. I use a safe zone and a danger zone. A safe zone is a distance where I cannot physically punch her, kick her, grab her, touch her in any way. That's a safe zone. A danger zone is where both of us are in each other's faces and we're like, what, you want a piece of me? Yeah, you want to go right now? And what happens here, most kids don't want to back down. They don't want to back down because of peer pressure. If I back down, then are my friends going to call me a chicken, a sissy, scaredy cat, whatever. If she were to back down, then people are going to call her the same thing. So I have to get the kids to understand that by me backing up into a safe zone, it's not because I'm scared, it's not because I'm afraid or I'm a weak person. It's because I'm being smart. When we're this close, you get tunnel vision. Television, we're not going to take our eyes off each other, do this little chicken dance thing. If I take my eyes off of her, she can sucker punch me. That's the only way she can hit me. I'm kidding. All right. If she takes her eyes off of me, I can sucker punch her. So we get this television where we're not going to take our eyes, but if she has friends that hold me back, I become her personal punching bag. So by me stepping into a safe zone, I'm able to, one, look at, does she have friends? Two, where are the nearest exits? Three, are there bystanders that can help me? Four, is her hands disappearing to where she might be pulling out any type of a tool, a knife or a gun, something that's going to harm me? I need time to react. Here, we don't have that much time to react. So it's smarter to move into a safe zone rather than stay in this danger zone. And the reason why kids stay here is because of peer pressure. They don't want their friends to look at them as a weak or scared individual. Move back. Part two, she gets her hands open. Mine are closed. So you as the bystander, I would be the one getting in trouble because I look like the aggressor and she looks like, hey, I don't want any problems. Make a fist. Now, I'm the one that doesn't look like I want to fight. She's the one that looks like she wants to fight. She gets in trouble. Both of us. When video cameras, bystanders, or anyone see this, then both of us are going to get in trouble. And then the last part, both of us don't want to fight. Okay? This is the first part. This is what I'm talking about, body language, how we stand. The next part of it is what we say to draw attention, to make people know that I'm not the aggressor. If I'm like, screw you, that's escalating a situation. I'm part of the problem. But if I'm like, stop messing with me, I don't want to fight, leave me alone, quit, stop hurting me, stop touching me, and I'm backing away from the person, when the video cameras and everyone, bystanders, see me backing away with my hands open, and see her stepping up with her fists closed, there's no doubt in anyone's mind who the aggressor is and who's trying to. Once I've got the witnesses that see that, then I have the legal right to defend myself if she physically touches me or does anything. I use my words, my voice to attract attention, to get teachers or bystanders to go get a teacher to help me get out of a bad situation. If they don't, if nobody shows up, then I can physically defend myself. If I get the teacher to show up, I have bystanders or witnesses that'll say, there's the instigator, I was just trying to avoid the fight. So a big portion of what I do is get into describing safe zone, body language, and then what to say to attract the right kind of attention to get people to run to me, not away from me. Thank you, Debbie. I think you're muted, Steve.
Yeah, I did that. You need to have Debbie on more often. She definitely improves the appearance on the program. There's no question there. So, okay, so you're talking about the physical bullying, but there's other type of bullying, and I don't think we're going to have time to talk about all of it today, but I do want to touch on this whole idea of cyberbullying. Sure. Now, that's fairly new. That's only in the past 15, 20 years. But what do you do? How do you respond to the cyberbullying? Is it the school's responsibility or the parents' responsibility? How do you minimize those things?
That's the argument. Parents blame the school blames the parents. The schools say it's the parents' job to monitor the child's internet activities at home. It's not the school's problem. Once the child is off of school property, off of the school bus, it is no longer the school's responsibility to care for the child or make sure. That's most school policies. But when the child is at the bus stop or on the bus going to the school, that's when it becomes school responsibility. Now, instead of the finger pointing, there's got to be a communication between the parents and the school where they're actually working together. Imagine that, working together, communicating to help resolve a problem. Now, a lot of times, parents I don't know, for me, when I was bullied, if I were to have had the internet, Facebook, Twitter, all the TikTok, all the different social media sites, if I were to have had that back when I was young, a kid, I would not be standing here today. I would have ended my life. Because when you have social media, if I have 500 friends and one person just says, why don't you just go hang yourself or do something, and everyone else thinks it's funny and laughs or makes comments about it, now I think 500 people hate my guts. Nobody likes me. And that's where kids will, one, harm themselves, if not commit suicide, or two, become the next active shooter. You got to understand, when the bully says, are you a mama's boy? You going to run home to your mommy? I didn't want to say anything to my mom, because if I did, she would go up to the school and prove the bully's right. Because the bully would say, see, I told you it was a mama's boy. Are you a teacher's pet? You're going to go up and be a little snitch, tattletale, whiny crybaby? I didn't want to say anything to the teachers, because then the bully would be right. So the bully surgically took away all of the healthy options for me to communicate with my parents, communicate with the teachers, to get them to stop messing with me. I didn't do anything, and social media, that just amplifies it. Where a lot of kids that can't handle it, they either take matters into their own hands and become the next active shooter in schools, or they take matters in their own hands and commit suicide. My goal through creating Heroes in Action was to save lives. If I can help a child not make a bad choice or a bad decision about taking their own life or taking someone else's life because they don't know where to turn to, I've done my job. I want to tell kids that there are alternatives, there are things that you can do, people you can talk to. Be the snitch. Don't be afraid to talk to your parents. Be the snitch. Don't be afraid to talk to a teacher. You're just reporting someone, and you want to look at it this way. If I approach a teacher and say, Miss Debbie, can I talk to you for a second? I'm being bullied, but, I can handle it. I just want you to be aware of it, because if this person is bullying me, then chances are they're probably bullying other people. Can you just keep an eye on them and make sure they don't bully other people? Now, in a way, I'm not being a snitch. I'm reporting it, so the teacher is now going to keep an eye on them to see if they bully other people or me, and hopefully get me out of the situation and correct this child's behavior based on what or why they're doing.
Ray, not to change the subject, but to change the subject, this part of our program is brought to you once again by LifeWave and the X39 stem cell patch. It's this cute little wafer-thin patch that actually instigates or activates your stem cells in your body. As we get older, our stem cells stop doing what they were designed to do. In fact, by the time we reach the age of 60, our stem cells really are doing very, very little for us. For several years, I had lower back pain from injuries many years ago. And a friend of mine just a few months ago gave me one of these patches, and I put it on my body. And within less than 24 hours, I started to feel pain relief that I have been dealing with for many, many years. So all you have to do is just apply one of these patches on your body. We'll tell you exactly where to put the patch. But it's going to help with things like faster wound healing. It's going to help with more energy. You're going to sleep better. And you're also going to have that rapid pain relief. So if you'd like more information about X39 and LifeWave, please reach out. We're happy to give you some more information as we go forward. So, Ray.
So real quick, based on what you just said.
Yes, sir.
That patch is to give people relief. Heroes in Action, we're a patch. We're here to educate people, to give them relief in dealing with any form of bullying or violence that's happening in their lives. Let us be your patch.
And I'm going to guess that you wrote a book to tell people stories about that, and you've put programs together to be the patch. So tell us about your book.
So, Bully, Victim, or Hero was the first book that I wrote. Again, it's going through my trials, my tribulations, the mistakes that I've made in life, and the mentors that I had in my life that helped mold me and change me into the person that I am now. And I just chronicle everything and then come up with different ideas that can help people help themselves so they could be their own hero. Then I've written a whole series of children's books. If you can see behind me, I'm sure they'll put it up. But it's the Adventures of Mushy the Martian. Mushy is a character that comes to Earth and doesn't know anyone, and he gets bullied. A stranger tries to abduct him. He doesn't really follow directions. So all of these books I wrote specifically as a tool for parents to introduce sensitive topics to their kids so that they can work on their critical thinking and their problem-solving skills based out of the character of Mushy the Martian.
So is Mushy a real creature? I mean, does Mushy come to your programs and events?
Absolutely. We do have a mascot, Mushy the mascot, and Mushy shows up at a lot of the children's events. We're going to be going to Comic-Con this year coming up in a few months, so we'll have a booth, and Mushy will be walking around Comic-Con with all the other booths and all the other aliens and things like that, so we're excited to that. If you ever want Mushy to come to your event, whether it's a grand opening event or anything, we would love to have Mushy come and meet the public as well.
Right, we've got a major problem. We are running out of time, and I've got about 50,000 additional questions to ask you. Questions about, do the bullies only come in pint size? Are they only small children or teenagers? Do they grow up and be big adult bullies? I asked you earlier, what does a bully look like? Does a bully look like a parent or a sibling or an ex-spouse or a neighbor or a coworker? So we don't have time to go through all of those things, but I do want to start wrapping things up and tell us a little bit more about the training programs that you have and how you help to educate not just people in schools, but you take your programs to other opportunities and other events as well, don't you?
So a lot of what I've done, the reason why I got into martial arts was for self-defense. I wanted to learn how to protect myself. I can't go into schools and teach punching, kicking, or anything like that. So I have the program that I do, Bully, Victim, or Hero, that is based on verbally diffusing or drawing attention and learning how to be assertive, learning how to be a better communicator. We also have programs for businesses. You know, I'll have parents that would say, well, what do I do with my child if nothing happens? They've done all of your strategies and they can't get any help from anyone. Then what? I offer after-school programs or hands-on programs where I actually teach physical self-defense for kids, women, families, adults, businesses, and I design it or cater it to fit their needs so that they can get themselves out of bad situations.
All right, so Ray, is all of this done in just schools, or do you go to churches and community centers? Do you have a facility where you can teach some of both the parents as well as the children some tactics and some self-defense things?
Yes, we do have a training location here in Port Richey, Florida, that we just had our grand opening a couple weeks ago. And we're registering or signing up classes now for kids, for women, for adults, families, on all different facets of dealing with violence. We do Boy Scout, Girl Scout events, church youth group events, and then if you have a business that you want to do any type of active shooter training, we offer that as well.
All right, I'm gonna guess. I know a lot of parents look for summertime activities for their children because they're not in school during the summertime. Are you going to be offering any kind of a program, a camp of some sort that you can work with the young people as well?
We're actually working with Wesley Chapel Rec Center. They have a summer camp, which we'll be involved with. And I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of the other summer camps now. Now is where they're registering kids for summer camp. So I'm going to, kind of connect with them to be a guest speaker as part of their summer camp for the kids to promote safety.
Well, that's outstanding. Ray, we've got just over a minute left. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Heroes in Action and what your mission is and what you're looking to do?
So I'm going to do this real quick. I was at a school, and there was a kid that was in a wheelchair. And, I wanted to include the kid in the wheelchair. Now, he had cerebral palsy, so he had no use of his arms or legs. And I was bullying him, of course, with the permission of the teachers. And the first time I bullied him, the kids all laughed. And I said, are you part of the problem or the part of the solution? Part of the problem. Second time I bullied this kid, all the kids did what they were supposed to. The bystanders went and got the teachers, and they came up and stood up for the kid in the wheelchair. The best part was he had the biggest smile on his face when everyone stood up to help him. Now, later on, the school called me and said, hey, the kids are volunteering to help him eat his lunch, do his homework, and they're including him in other activities in schools. It doesn't have to be somebody in a wheelchair. It could be somebody that just doesn't know what to say or do. Hopefully, you guys will choose to be the heroes to help somebody that can't help themselves.
Ray, thank you so much.